Hey guys, good morning. Happy Saturday. I finally got my Dior order in. I ordered their Dior Riviera Summer 2026 collection. It's so funny, they have like mashed up Dior and Riviera into one word for their summer collections, and I never really know how to say it. So I'm just gonna drag it out, Dior Riviera. Everything came in this gorgeous Mother's Day box. Isn't this so pretty? The bottom is this pretty peach color. Can you see that? Yeah, pretty peach color. All these butterflies. So gorgeous. When I opened up the box, I was like, hello, I love that. Let's get down to brass tacks. Okay, we're here to talk about the summer collection. And I will say, I'm very sorry to hear and see that much of the collection, or at least, you know, the bronzer and the highlighter, the two products that everyone was just sort of drooling over, seem to be sold out everywhere. I don't know if they're coming back with any of them. This collection, every year, their summer collection, is a limited edition. What made these so special is the packaging. And I couldn't resist. I was part of this frenzy to order right off of the Dior site, and then Sephora launched it during the VIB sale. I was like, that's crazy. That sold out, I think, super quickly. So we're going to be talking about this collection, but if you have not gotten your hands on it, I'm so sorry. I will definitely keep you guys abreast here in my posts area if they do come back with it, if I see any stock return anywhere, Sephora, Nordstrom, the Dior site itself, I will let you know. The other pieces, which we'll talk about, are still available. So if you do enjoy those things, I think you can still grab those for yourself. So we're going to be putting on as much of this as possible onto my face. I'm going to be doing some swatches. I'm going to be doing some comparison swatches, especially of the highlighter and the bronze. Mainly because I'm trying to anticipate all of your questions, but I was very curious myself when I got these products, like how they compare to a lot of the things in the Dior line and a lot of the newer products that have come out from other luxury brands. So yeah, let's start by talking about what I actually ended up getting. So I did end up getting the bronzer, and I did get it in the pink bronze. So again, here's a close-up of this packaging, and we can see right here J.W. Anderson's influence on the beauty packaging. So J.W. Influence, formerly at Loewe, is now over at Dior, and he's got such a fun sort of sense of humor when it comes to design, which I really, really love. As you guys know, when he was over at Loewe, I just couldn't get enough of it. I have so many of the elephant bags. I have the hamster bag, just all of these like really cute, whimsical pieces. And he's sort of doing that a little bit at Dior. I would say he's really trying to stay true to the Dior aesthetic, where we're seeing like a lot more like peplums and volume and things like that. But we can definitely see like the little bits of brilliance coming through J.W. Anderson. So we've got the little Ladybug. I know he's got some bags in the collection that have this same idea with the daisies and the ladybugs. I think the Ladybug you'll see sort of kind of scattered all over the fashion collection. This is just absolutely darling. I love it. And I will say, I did get this for the packaging. I mean, I probably would have gotten it anyway, but man, oh man, I was like, I set a reminder for when this was coming out because Dior announced it was coming out at like sometime Paris time, which ended up being 9 p.m. Vegas time. Anyway, how cute is that? I love it. And then here is a close-up of the bronzer. And here is a swatch of the bronzer. And I will show you comparison swatches in just a bit. But there's the bronzer by itself. There are two shades available, or that were available, the pink bronze and then the more coral or like peachy bronze. I got the pink bronze because I like a little bit more of a neutral, I wouldn't say cool because bronze itself is just not a cool tone, but just one that's a little bit more neutral leaning, and a bronze with a little bit of pink in there tends to be a little bit more neutral. So that's the one that I picked up. And then here is the highlighters, same packaging. Now I think this Ladybug kind of travels around the compact. You never know what you're gonna get. My bronzer and highlighter, they're kind of in the same spot, but I was watching someone here on YouTube, I can't remember, but their Ladybug was in a completely different spot. Anyway, here is the highlighter. So it's a beautiful baked gel powder. And here is a swatch of that. I hope you can see it because the swatch of this is a little faint, or faint's not the right, it's thin. The texture seems a little bit thin, and I think because as I was going in with my finger swatch, this pan felt a little bit harder than a lot of the beautiful beige gel powders that I've been feeling lately, a little bit harder than those. So anyway, it's gonna have a little bit of a thinner sort of application. We'll see once we get it on my cheeks. So that's the bronzer and the highlighter. So again, a little bit later, I'll show you some comparison swatches of the bronzer and the highlighter to other products. And then I did get this eyeshadow quint. This is number 670 Sunset Bronze. The other one that they have available is a very kind of like burnt orange blue eyeshadow. And while I found that one to be more interesting, I just know myself, I just don't wear that much blue eyeshadow. So I opted for the one that I thought I would get more use out of. So that's this one. I do want to mention that all of the gold that you see in this pan and also in the bronzer, that is overspray. So that will eventually go away. So the gold in here, overspray as well. What is all the way through to the bottom of the pan, at least in the bronzer, is the pink. These two pink flowers. So just wanted to mention that. So here are some swatches of these 5 shades. And because of that gold overspray, once you get into using this quint a little bit more, you'll probably see a little bit less of that gold sheen that you see here in my swatches. And I did also pick up the Forever Glow Maximizer. I am actually not a big fan of these products, but I thought, let me give it a shot. Let me give it a shot. You never know when they like change it up a little bit or when one shade behaves differently from the rest of the shades. So this one is Sunburst, and this one is, I don't know if it's limited edition, I believe, but this is released as part of this collection. So it does have a very warm tone to it with like a little bit of yellow in there, which I was surprised at. So it just has a very interesting sort of tone to it, interesting shade. And the reason why I don't like these Glow Maximizers is a couple of reasons. One, they're very, very micro glittery. And this one I don't think is much different from the other ones. In the bottle here, they look like they're gonna be really kind of satiny, metallic. But if you take a close look, there are most definitely, and in this one, gold toned, micro glitters in there. And it just looks like, especially in daylight, really, really glittery. Not my favorite, but we'll try this out. We'll see how this works. The other reason why I'm not the biggest fan of these products is I never know really how to use them. They do have some shades that are most definitely like highlighters, but they have a lot of shades in there that are like this tone where I think, is it a blush? Because it's too deep to be a highlighter. You can see by this swatch. Is it a blush? It seems a little bit too sheer, maybe too light to be a blush. Is it a blush topper? We'll play around with this. We'll see if I can make this one work. And then I did get 2 of these new Dior Show Flash Sticks. Now, this is part of their regular line. This is not part of their DIORIVIERA collection for 2026. So these are not, I'm not sure. I don't believe these are limited edition. And the 2 shades that I got is Beige Tulle and Beige Mitza. So in these 2 swatches, the Beige Mitza is on top and the Beige Tulle is on the bottom. I am such a sucker for Beige Mitza. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's a perfect like taupey shade. Usually has a little bit of warmth in there. This shadow stick is no different. And the Beige Tulle is just sort of like a nice satin one and done shade. So love the shades of these. We'll see how they perform. I think I'm gonna use like the sticks and then use some of the powder shadow on top. We'll see how that works out. Okay, so I already have my base products down. I started with the Dior Star Filter. I have this in shade number 2. And then of course I went in with the Dior foundation stick in 1.5N. And then I have the Forever Skin Correct Concealer in 2N. So what I did with these 2 is I put the foundation stick on the high points of my face. I put the concealer in the more receded parts of my face, like jawline, around the edge of my forehead. And then I just blended it all in. And then I have the Dior Forever Nude Matte Filter in 01 Fair, this pressed powder. I have this just lightly dusted all over. This is the only Dior powder that I have liked in a very, very long time, this pressed powder. It doesn't leave my skin looking too dry. A lot of previous Dior powders, or even their existing loose powder, is that still around? That one made my skin look like I was a crypt keeper. So anyway, I do like this pressed powder. Okay, enough yapping. Let's jump in with the bronzer. So let me show you the comparison swatches now that we're here in the bronzer. So what I did was I swatched the bronzer like right in the middle since we were comparing it to the bronzer. I usually always swatch it first, and I'm like, why? By the time you get to the last swatch, you can't really compare. So anyway, it's right in the middle. It's the big one. And so from left to right, we've got the Dior bronzer that is part of the regular collection. This is in 03 Soft. And you can see that this one is lighter and it's a little peachier than this version. And then I swatched the Dior Riviera from 2025. It's this one with the pink toile fabric on top. And this one was also a pink bronze. So I totally expect these two to look exactly the same, but the tones are a little bit different. I find the old one to be a little bit deeper. It's a little bit deeper. So anyway, then we've got, this year's Dior Riviera. And then next to that, I have the Tom Ford Soleil bronzing powder in number 1 Corsica. So that's the one to the right of the middle swatch. This one I find to be a little bit lighter, but not as light as the one that's in like the regular Dior line. And then finally, all the way on the right, we have the new Sisley Baked Gel Powder bronzer. I just love this formula so much. I find this formula to be far superior to the Dior or the Tom Ford pressed powders. This baked gel powder is really, really gorgeous. So those are the bronzer comparison swatches. Let's go ahead and apply this year's Dior Riviera to my cheeks. I'm going to use a fluffy synthetic brush. This is from Say. And I'm just gonna dip right in, and I'm gonna try and get some of the pink flowers in there, but there's only 2 flowers and they're all the way on the edge. But I guess if you just want bronzer powder, it makes it very easy. You can just focus your brush right there. But I'm gonna try and pick up a little bit of the pink. And I'm gonna start lightly dusting along my forehead here. So the tone is very pretty. I feel like it's blending out really nicely. It's applying very nicely. I feel like the pigmentation is definitely on the lighter side. I don't necessarily mind when it comes to bronzers because you can build it up slowly, makes it almost mistake proof, but I do find that very interesting. I do think the Dior Riviera from the previous collection, I do find that one to be a little bit more pigmented. Maybe that's why I found that one to be a little bit darker than this one. So maybe they just pulled back on the pigmentation for this bronzer. I feel like I've gone in 3 or 4 times all over my face. And I feel like any of the other bronzers that I swatched as a comparison, if I had done that, I would look a little bit silly at this point. But this is building up slowly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so there is the bronzer applied. Very nice. I'm very happy that I went with the pink bronze versus the coral bronze. Let's move over to blush. So there isn't any blush in this particular collection. So I think I may try this Forever Glow. Try it as blush. So again, this is shade Sunburst. It's very, very glittery. I don't know why. I don't know why they use so much glitter in these Forever Glow maximizers. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. You know what? I think I'm going to use a brush because I want to see if I can get kind of like a light application of this. I'm going to use my Westman Atelier blender brush. I really like this with cream products. So yeah, I'm just gonna graze it over the doe foot here. Just grab some of the product and then let me just pounce a little bit. Now, if you are as pale as I am, which is really pale, I think you can pull this off as a blush. It just gives like a really light coloring there. Works nicely with the bronzer, since the bronzer is not too much, you know? Oh my God, it never fails. As soon as I start filming, the leaf blowers go on. I think the color is great. The formula works really, really well, but there's a ton of micro glitters, and it's so obvious. I wish they would just make these smooth. Just smooth. If they want to add a little iridescence, okay, great. The like slight tinting to them, sure, right? We can figure out what to do with it. But these micro glitters, they're so obvious. They're so obvious. And I know they can do it without micro glitters because they've got these star filters, which are just gorgeous, smooth, satiny. And look, this is a personal preference, right? If you guys love the micro glitters, great, then you're gonna love this. But personally, I just wish for something smoother. But anyway, that's the Forever Glow Maximizer. Not bad as like a stand-in for blush. But let's move on to this highlighter. I'm very curious because the swatch was a little lackluster in my opinion. So again, let's just take one last look at this gorgeous compact. So beautiful. And then it's got this beautiful baked gel powder. Now, baked gel powder to me, usually it has this almost like velvety feel to it. That's when you know it's gonna be real good. But this one felt a little bit harder in the pan. And yeah, it was a little bit more difficult to pick up product. Now, maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe they wanted to make sure you were using this highlighter in a very light way. Who knows? But what I did do was some comparison swatches between this, the highlighters in their line, the ones that come in these silver compacts, and then the Tom Ford highlighter, and then the Sisley. So again, I did the same thing here where I have this new highlighter right in the middle. To the left of it, I have all of the Dior collection highlighters. So from left to right, we have Pink Halo, Nude Halo, and then we have Gold Halo. And in terms of tone, I think this new one kind of falls between the gold and the nude. So I do like that about it. So the Dior collection highlighters, these are a baked gel powder as well, but these have that kind of softer feel to them. So you can see that they have a brighter, not brighter, because I do think the one in the middle, the newer one, is actually more metallic, but there's more substance to it. There's a little bit more oomph to it versus this new one. And then to the right of the swatch, we have the Tom Ford Glow Highlighter in Capri. You guys just saw me do a video on these. This one is much lighter, almost whiter and frostier on the cheeks. And then at the end, we've got the Sisley highlighter, the new Orchid highlighter, the baked gel powder one. You guys, this one is just stunning. I think this one blows all these other ones out of the water. Again, the tone is absolutely perfect. It's so smooth. There isn't a micro glitter in sight. Now, since this had like a hard to pick up kind of feel when I finger swatched it, what I'm gonna do is use a natural haired brush. I prefer natural haired brushes when I'm working with baked gel powder products, especially when they're hard like this. And I picked a brush that is going to give me the maximum payoff. So this is the most I'm gonna be able to get out of this highlighter. I've got the Sonia G Fan Medium brush. It's this guy, it's natural haired. It's a rather dense fan brush. And let's see what happens. So I'm gonna go in, knocking off the excess and working that in. Okay, it's pretty, wow, it's pretty bright on the cheeks. And this highlight definitely has some micro glitters in there. It's just not quite as smooth as say something like that Sisley. The Sisley one is much smoother, but I do feel like the more I buff out with a brush like this, the micro glitters kind of get swept away. I mean, you're not gonna get rid of all of them, but this is the brightest and smoothest you're gonna get this highlighter is with a brush like this. Okay, as a contrast, I'm gonna use a synthetic haired brush that is quite fluffy, right? We've got some long bristles, real fluffy, so we're gonna get a real soft touch. This is the CL Cheek Flush brush. And let's see how this one lays down the product. So, pick some up. And yeah, can you see? It's so much thinner, the application, and I'm picking up more product than I did with that fan brush. Okay, so here it is on this cheek. It almost doesn't even look quite as smooth, right? And then here's the fan brush. Smooth, really bright, almost like it's polished, where this one looks like it's just kind of sitting on top of the skin. It's not quite as refined looking as it does on this side. But anyway, that's just the different brushes. So the brightness and the performance of this highlighter is actually better than I thought after swatching it. I really thought it was gonna be kind of thin and kind of ineffectual, but it's quite nice. Even with the synthetic hairbrush, it's a lot nicer than I thought after finger swatching it. My only complaint, and this will be the last time I say anything, are the micro glitters. Okay, I'm done. Let's move on to eyes. Actually, let me do my eyebrows very quickly. I'm just gonna use my Dior Onset Brow Gel. Brow gel is down. Now, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to apply one of these sticks as like a base and then work some of these shadows from the Quint on top. I think what I will use, because I'm a sucker for the shade, as you guys know, is Beige Mitza. Also because it has a little bit of peach to it, and I think that will work nicely with this Quint. So these are supposed to be long wear and waterproof, and there are 8 shades altogether. There's 2 finishes, satin and shimmer, and Beige Mitza is considered a satin shade, and the Beige Tool is considered a shimmer shade. Oh no, my shadow stick came out. Oh dear, that's so sad. That's okay. Let me just press that down a little bit. Let me do one eye at a time. Since it's long wear, I don't want it to set down before I've had time to blend it out. I'm just gonna use my finger. And I'm focusing this on the inner portion of my lid because I'm gonna use the powder shadows on the outer corner here, but just giving it a little bit of a base here. These are very creamy. I just used the Ilia eyeshadow sticks in my Sephora try-on haul. Those were much like tackier and thicker feeling. These are definitely very smooth, a little bit thinner in formula. The ultimate one and done, right? So easy. So easy. Okay, so that's the Beige Mitza. Not too thick, a really soft touch to these. Okay, let's go into the Quint here. And I'm gonna go into this shade here. Focus this on the outer corner of my eye. Oh, and I'm using a Rephr number 1 brush. You know, this shade is really interesting. In the pan, it looks like it's going to have almost like the faintest of like a lilac in there, but when I apply it, I feel like there's a little bit of warmth. Like it's almost reflecting this kind of shade when I apply it. So interesting, right? It's so much warmer. I wonder if it's because the Beige Mitza is cooler as a comparison, maybe. I'm gonna use my Rephr Shoto number 2 brush with this shade above the one we just used, this light gold. I'm just gonna wipe that brush off. I'm gonna use the same brush and go into this peachy shade up here and just lightly dust that, the center of my shade, center of my lid. I'm gonna grab some of this shade down here and just drag under my lash line. I wonder if this is gonna make me look sick. Let's see. I think it's okay. I think it has enough brightness. All right, well, the only shade I didn't use is the one in the center. It's this lilac one. You know what, I'm gonna use my finger and let's just apply it up here. I wanna see how reflective that is because this was another shade, another product that when I finger swatched, it felt a lot harder in the pan and I was afraid that it wasn't going to have a lot of payoff. It's pretty, but it's almost like a topper, that shade. But that's pretty. The purple reflect in it is very, very subtle. All right, well that is the Sunset Bronze Quint with the Beige Mitza eyeshadow stick. All right, I didn't get any Dior lips. They came out with the glass lipsticks, but it was so strange. It was like, it came out later, I think, than the rest of this collection. And then when I saw it, I linked to it for you guys, and I was like, okay, I'll go back and like order some shades. And then it was off the site, and then it came back. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I haven't ordered any of those. Those look fun. They look like right up my alley. As you guys know, I love like a juicy kind of lip color. But anyway, I haven't gotten any of those. So I'm just gonna put on one of the Dior Addict Dior Rodeo 426 shades on. And this one is, I think, a little bit closer to what's happening on my face. I would normally wear the beige oblique, but that one's a little bit nuder. This one is a little bit closer to that warm rosy shade, like in the eyeshadow quench. Okay guys, well that is the DIORIVIERA Collection 2026. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely subscribe if you want to stay on top of whether or not these beautiful compacts, the bronzer or the highlighter, come back into stock. I will definitely post here on YouTube. And let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you got this collection, how are you feeling about it? Would love to hear. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.